Hello and welcome to episode 151 of Glitch Report. My name is GnittWitt. Thank you so much for stopping by, saying hi, kicking it with me today on the stream of dreams, the show of shows, and everything in between. We are back after a long and somewhat awkward hiatus that and the reason why I say it's long and awkward is because I didn't mean for it to be as long as it was, and for that I feel kind of awkward. We're gonna do like housekeeping and like what's been going on and stuff like that in just a moment, but we are back to talk about video games. We got a huge amount of video game news to get to. I also am a owner. I was gonna say proud owner, but I don't know. Taking like pride in stuff that you buy seems like, I don't know. It's not like I did something. It's not like I accomplished anything. I just ordered a Nintendo Switch 2 online and it showed up at my house, and now I am the owner of a Nintendo Switch 2, and I've been playing said Nintendo Switch 2, and we're going to talk about that later on the show. There is a huge amount of news to get to. When I was kind of putting all of this together, I wasn't too sure how much like older news I wanted to cover that we've missed since the last recording of this podcast, and just like, focusing on the most important, biggest, relevant pieces of news out there. So I'm going to try to strike a balance of like catching, us up on what we, haven't discussed with also breaking news and things like that. And hopefully it all works out. I believe we have a good lineup of topics to discuss on the show today, but I figured I would get it out of the way and just explain why there was the podcast absence and what we can kind of expect going forward. So in July, at the start of this month, the plan was for me to move. The plan was for me to move and then maybe only have about a week's downtime before content resumed again, the podcast resumed again, and stuff like that. If you're watching the video version of this podcast, you'll know that I have not moved since the last time we recorded. The lighting is a little different because I moved some of the lights that I use out of this place, but the reason why the moving didn't end up happening was because there were some home renovation projects at the place I'm moving to that are supposed to be done before I move in. Those have not happened yet. So it was a scenario where we've got, plans in place. We got contractors, people, all this stuff kind of slowly coming together in the works, while we also stack new home renovation projects on top of each other. Because stuff broke down and all of this other stuff that we're trying to fix, and we can do it, and it's like, it shouldn't be a problem. It's just delayed things significantly to the point now where I'm like, it's like, July 30th at the time of this recording, and I don't know if it's going to be another month. I don't know if it's going to be another like month and a half. Like, it's really hard for me to say at the moment. So I figured, let's get back to doing the show. The other thing is that I moved. Like the thing was that I moved my podcasting recording equipment. Like, I moved everything. I moved my microphone, my camera, my lights, everything back to the place that I'm moving into. My stuff is still there, but I kept my PC and other stuff there. I was kind of like splitting the difference because I knew I was going to spend a little bit of time at the new place helping out with home renovations, and a little bit of time here as I cleaned up the place that I was at and I finished moving and all that stuff. Right now, it's just a scenario where we're just waiting to get people, shovels in the ground, so to speak, like, in terms of getting that home renovation projects done at the place that I'm moving into. So as a result, I figured might as well get back to recording the podcast, recording the show. My plan is to do it each and every week until the move actually finally happens. So it's a weird thing where like, I want to apologize for the delay. I didn't expect for this to happen. We're trying to do things like we're trying to get a heat pump in the place that I'm at. But that hasn't happened yet. We're applying for rebates and doing all of this stuff. But like I said, I don't live there. but we're trying to get heat pumps in prior to moving in. And then we also had a hot water tank break on us. And the people that are doing the heat pumps were like, "Oh, hey, did you want like a tankless like water heater, like an electrical system to replace the gas, since you're already replacing gas in the heat pump?" And we're like, "Cool, that sounds great. Let's do it." And it's like, "Oh, well, we still have to wait for these rebates, and we still have to wait for all of this stuff to occur before I move in." So it is the waiting game. That is the waiting game. It is the facts of life. Though I will say waiting becomes a hell of a lot easier when you got a brand new console like the Nintendo Switch 2. I've been playing a lot of that. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. We're going to take our first break, and then we're going to get to the news. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Welcome back. It is time to talk about the news. I wasn't too sure what the top story was going to be, but I figure this is probably the one, not because of necessarily the game, not necessarily because of the company involved, but because this probably sets a precedent, some expectations for at least the remainder of the year in terms of games go. Microsoft has reversed its plan to charge $80 US for The Outer Worlds 2. If you remember, sometime when The Outer Worlds 2 was revealed as part of Summer Game Fest, they said, hey, this game is going to be an $80 US game. This will be Microsoft's first $80 US game. You'll still be able to get it as part of Game Pass, but if you're looking to get it on PlayStation or buy it separately on Xbox or buy it separately on PC, $80 US was the asking price. They have now reversed those plans, and it will be a $70 game, despite what Microsoft announced in June. When we look at the details here, there was an Xbox spokesperson that said, "We're focused on bringing players incredible worlds to explore, and we'll keep our full-priced holiday releases, including The Outer Worlds 2, at $69.99 in line with current market conditions." Obsidian wrote on its social media channels on Wednesday, quote, "We have received your SOS via Skip Drone about the pricing. As an organization devoted to making sure that corporations do not get unfettered, we at the Earth Directate have worked with Redacted to revise the price of The Outer Worlds 2. That is their in-universe tongue-and-cheek response to all of this. While this will not bring peace to the galaxy or even your local colony, we assure you all that we are here to fight for all colonies in every way that we can. For those wondering, The Outer Worlds 2 is set to release on October 29th of this year on Xbox Series X and S, PC, and PS5. It'll also be on Game Pass on day one. Obsidian, the folks that are working on Grounded 2, those are also the folks that did South Park, The Stick of Truth, Pentiment, Avowed from earlier this year. I mean, Obsidian is a company from Microsoft that has put out assuming that Outer Worlds 2 does not slip out of this year for any reason, Obsidian is the company that Microsoft owns that has been cooking unlike any other developer at Microsoft, having put out 3 games when all is said and done this year, those games being Avowed, Grounded, and The Outer Worlds 2. I am still looking forward to The Outer Worlds 2, especially having finished the first game, but it does make you wonder. Pre-orders for The Outer Worlds 2 must have been incredibly low. Like, it must have been disastrous numbers for people being like, fuck this, I don't want to pay $80 for The Outer Worlds 2, even for people who, obviously you don't see pre-orders for Game Pass, right? Like, when you have a game that's coming to Game Pass, there is no, like, I'm going to play this game day one. You can't, like, tell the system ahead of time you want to play that game. You just either play it when it comes out, or you pre-order it, or you don't, and you fuck off and do whatever. I just have to imagine that the pricing really screwed up a lot of the pre-order plans and expectations that Microsoft had, especially for a game that was launching day and date on PC and PS5 and Xbox, a proper third-party launch with the exception of Nintendo Switch 2. But it also makes you wonder, like, did the rest of the market just get cold feet? Did, like, we talked about the controversy around the pricing of the pricing for Borderlands 4 and 2K, and Randy Pitchford putting his foot in his mouth as he wants to do. And then being like, no, Borderlands 2 is going to be a $70 US game. I mean, the only people out there charging this kind of money is Nintendo, and Nintendo's response to everybody is probably fuck them, because I was at the EB Games, which is it's the Canadian version of GameStop now that they have separated from GameStop and all this stuff. And if you want a physical copy of Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, it is a whopping $115 Canadian, which translates to about $83 US, which is fucked, I might add. Just completely fucking crazy, but oh well, here we are. So Nintendo out here charging $80 for $80 US for some shit, but they're the only ones getting away with it right now because they just launched a new console. They're selling to the hardcore fans. I'm an idiot. I bought one. I mean, I'm not an idiot because I bought one. I just happen to be an idiot. I actually think the Switch 2 is really is a lot of fun so far. I got a family member coming over later today. We're gonna check it out together, play some games, get some multiplayer sessions in, and see how that goes together. But you know, we'll probably not see the $80 game, really come in, $80 USD game really come into play until next year, right? And I still think there is a very good chance that when all is said and done, something like Grand Theft Auto 6 becomes an $80 US game because, everyone tried to do it this year, or some tried to do it this year. It failed. It didn't work out. And now everyone's kind of going back to square one, being like, that $80 is coming. Lord knows it's coming, but we just need to figure out when to actually do it to, kind of reduce the sting and reduce some of the controversy around that pricing. But I don't think Outer Worlds 2 should have ever been the game. I think Microsoft has a lot of egg on its head for a variety of reasons. But this especially just being like, dude, like the first game was supposed to be like a lean, focused experience, like a game that was like, priced and presented in a way that was like not some huge, massive thing, a game that you could, play as an open world RPG, but still complete in a reasonable time frame. And, charging that much money, like, would the Outer Worlds 2 have been the size and scope of a Fallout 4, of a, Elder Scrolls game? I doubt it. They never said like how big it is or how long it takes to play. At least I don't think they did. I'll type in how long to beat Outer Worlds 2. I don't think they have said how long the Outer Worlds 2 is yet. So maybe we'll find out closer to launch, but I have a feeling that regardless, people would have looked at it and said, I don't know if the $80 was worth it. Speaking of, was the money worth it or not, Atari has agreed to acquire Thunderful for around $4.5 million. Atari will own around 82% of Thunderful shares, subject to shareholder approval next month. I'm getting this from Video Games Chronicles. As always, shout out to Video Games Chronicles, posted here by Chris Scullion. It was announced in a press release that Atari has agreed to buy 82% of the Swedish video game holding company's shares at a total price of 50 million SEK, which is Swedish funny money, if I had to guess. The transaction is subject to shareholder approval, and an extraordinary general meeting has been set for on or about August 28th for a vote to take place. Now, you might be wondering, who is Thunderful? What is Thunderful? What is going on? Thunderful are a publisher primarily. They have published such games as the Steam World series. I think Steam World Dig 2 is a phenomenal game. If you've never played Steam World Dig 2, go play Steam World Dig 2. They've also done Lost in Random, Rainbreaker, Viewfinder, The Gunk. The Gunk, also a very, very good game made by the folks that made Steam World, which is really good. Lego Brick Tales and Cursed to Golf. They also own numerous studios, such as studios in Gothenburg, Karlsham, and Malmo, and Skovd. and has publishing arms including Thunderful Publishing and Rising Star Games. I probably butchered the name of all those Swedish locations, but what are you going to do? Swedish chef, Bork to Bork Bork. Last year, Thunderful Group announced plans to lay off a fifth of its staff as part of a restructuring process, which it said was down to a number of overinvestments made by Thunderful in the last few years. If I had to guess, deals like this may come together quick. It may be a long time coming in terms of planning it and things like that. If I had to guess, I would not put it past the good folks at Thunderful that they maybe laid off a fifth of its staff because they knew they were going through this sale process, wanted to reduce redundancies as much as possible, and present a lean, mean, and healthy company for someone like Atari to scoop in and pick up. Quote, these investments have proven unsustainable given the current industry climate, which has resulted in the group being particularly affected by challenging market conditions, it explained at the time, which is the same old shit that everybody talks about these days. Atari CEO and chairman Wade Rosen said, this transaction marks another important milestone in Atari's development with the expansion of its publishing and development capabilities in the European regions. Thunderful is recognized for publishing and developing critically acclaimed games, and with the announced transformation plan, as well as the quality and commitment of Thunderful's teams, we are confident that Thunderful will be returning to a profitable growth path while helping to further develop Atari operations in Europe. Really makes you think that all of this was planned as part of the sale, but obviously we will never know. Speaking of acquisitions, Sony has acquired 2.5% of Elden Ring publisher Bandai Namco as part of a strategic partnership. Also getting this from Video Games Chronicles, Jordan Middler writing. The strategic partnership will see Japanese console maker acquiring 16 million shares in the Elden Ring publisher. A joint statement from the companies read, through this business alliance, Sony's investment in Bandai Namco as two of the leading Japanese entertainment companies, Bandai Namco and Sony, will focus on expanding the fan community for IP such as anime and manga around the world and strengthening engagement, particularly in the anime field where rapid market growth is anticipated, while merging their strengths to create new and emotionally moving experiences for fans, and as a result of those efforts, maximize the value of IP. So I'm guessing what this means is, Sony thinks that with a little bit extra money, Bandai Namco can make a lot of hot anime and manga, and they're willing to put the money up for it as part of it. Now, this is the latest entertainment company that Sony's acquired shares in. The company currently owns 10.11% of Kadokawa, the Japanese media giant, which includes dozens of anime and gaming properties. In December, Sony became the largest shareholder in the company following reports that their PlayStation maker was looking to acquire the brand entirely. Sony also owns 14.09% of From Software, 5% of Devolver Digital, 4.9% of Epic Games, and 4.9% of the Chinese media publisher Bilibili. Now, Bandai Namco, of course, best known for major gaming franchises such as Tekken, Soul Calibur, Pac-Man, Ace Combat, and more. They are also the publishers of the Dark Souls games as well as Elden Ring. Of this new partnership with Bandai Namco, Sony's chief strategy officer Toshimoto Mitomo wrote, through the partnership, we aim to co-create an array of content and experiences that exceed expectations and deliver kando, which is Japanese for emotion. Kando is emotion. I think it's in quotes. It says emotion. That exceed expectations and deliver emotion to even more fans, alongside Bandai Namco Group, with its outstanding capacity for multi-directional expansions of diverse IP and deep connections with fans at real touch points, both domestically and internationally. By combining the strengths of both companies in the field of entertainment and unlocking the potential of compelling IP, we will further accelerate our efforts to maximize IP value and realize Sony's long-term vision. Sony really out there, you think about what is Sony's plans? Like, what are PlayStation's plans? We always talk about Oh, Microsoft is gonna, further third party this and all this stuff. Where it seems like Sony might just want to skim off the top of a lot of these people, right? Of like, hey, if you're gonna make a PlayStation exclusive, that's fine. If you're making a third party game like Elden Ring, that's fine. But maybe we just want a little taste of whatever Bandai Namco has to offer, right? Like maybe we don't want to commit to being a third party publisher like Microsoft, right? And maybe we realize that we can't commit to being a strictly first party console exclusive developer and company like Nintendo. So we'll just take a little taste here and there of Epic, with their Fortnite funny money and Devolver Digital and Bilibili and From Software and all this stuff. It very much seems like Sony kind of dipping their toes into a lot of things. It doesn't quite, create that vision, that end goal in my head, at least, of like, okay, it seems like they just want a little taste of a variety of these companies, but like we still don't have almost any PlayStation 5 exclusive games. Like, where are the PlayStation 5 exclusive games? I was at the grocery store just this morning. I was looking at some milk, and on the milk carton, it said, missing person, where are the PlayStation 5 exclusive games? Nowhere to be seen, because they were all live service games that got blown up when everyone at Sony realized that nobody fucking wants any more live service games. We're going to talk about live service games later on in the show. So instead, let's just invest in a bunch of different companies and hope for the best, which seems to be doing okay because they continue to invest in these companies, but very much seems like dipping the toe and not a strong, vision for the near future or the far-flung future of PlayStation at this point. Let's talk about Nintendo. Nintendo, this is a very short one. Nintendo Direct, they're going to do a Nintendo Direct partner showcase. If you've never heard of Nintendo Direct, it is basically a video, like a live video that they put on the internet. Well, it's not live, but it's a pre-recorded video that they put on the internet. And that, kind of works as their mini style press conferences, like announcement sort of video type things. There's going to be one happening tomorrow, July 31st, 6 a.m. It will be a partner showcase that will mainly focus on upcoming third-party Switch and Switch 2 games, probably mostly from third-party publishers, if I had to guess. Nintendo says the Direct will feature roughly 25 minutes of information on upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch games from Nintendo's publishing partners. What else do we got here? So third party, so don't expect a lot of like, Mario news or whatever. The next Switch 2 game set to be published by Nintendo is Dragon Drive, which is coming out on August 14th. There will also be a Switch 2 edition update for Kirby and the Forgotten Land set to be released later that month, August 28th, which will be followed by Pokemon Legends ZA on October 16th, which will also be coming out on Switch 1 as well as Switch 2. Nintendo will also be releasing Kirby Air Riders and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond this year, but has not had any announcements on release dates for those titles. Speaking of Switch 2, Switch 2 set a US launch month record at 1.6 million units sold just in the United States. 82% of Nintendo Switch 2 buyers during June also acquired Mario Kart World, whether they bought the bundle for Mario Kart World like I did, or they bought it separately, as reported by Andy Robinson over at Video Games Chronicles. Now, this is all according to Circana data, which suggests that Switch 2 sold 1.6 million units in June, a further 500,000 on top of Nintendo's first week figure, and more than 1.1 million, which was a record held by, and more than the 1.1 million record held by the PlayStation 4's launch in 2013. Switch 2 helped propel US June hardware spending upwards of a huge 249% year-on-year to $978 million, which is a record for a June month, far surpassing June's 2008's $608 million. Now, according to Circana, Elden Ring Night Reign was again the best-selling premium video game of the month, with the PS5 exclusive Death Stranding 2 on the beach in second place. Mario Kart World placed third, but its sales figures does not include digital sales or copies that were bundled with the Switch 2 console. However, 82% of Nintendo Switch 2 buyers during June also acquired Mario Kart World, it is claimed. One thing I wanted to mention for June's top 20 best-selling games, if you are wondering why Microsoft is putting their games on PlayStation, it is because there are multiple games in the top 20 for June that are Microsoft games, that are third-party Microsoft games. Top 20, I'm not going to go over the top 20, but one thing I wanted to mention is, like I said, number 1, Elden Ring. Number 2, Death Stranding 2 on the beach, which was a PS5 exclusive. Number 3 was Mario Kart World. Number 4 was Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Number 5 was Stellar Blade, which coincides with the release of Stellar Blade on PC as well. Number 6 was Forza Horizon 5, an old video game, but is selling so well on PlayStation. I think I even saw it for like 20-25% off at one point, which is fun. An old video game that is just selling like hotcakes on PlayStation 5. You also have the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered. That is a game, that's a Microsoft game that is selling so well that it is also appearing on the top 20 across multiple platforms. Very, very exciting to see, especially for fans of Mario Kart and Death Stranding and Elden Ring Night Reign. In case you're wondering, like, even Cyberpunk 2077, an old ass video game, cracked the top 20 because of its release on Nintendo Switch 2. EA was also kind of floating around in that top 20 game releases with stuff like Star Wars Battlefront 2, Split Fiction, EA Sports Football Club. But I want to talk about EA because they are getting ready, gearing up for a little game called Battlefield 6. There is a trailer for Battlefield 6 out now. They're doing multiplayer reveals and all of this stuff. But the EA CEO, says it is all in as a company on Battlefield 6 and is building a platform rather than a product. Now, I believe personally, before we get out and start talking about this, I'm going to say this right now. Electronic Arts CEO Andrew Wilson, real cart before the horse character as far as I'm concerned. The reason is that because there has not been a great Battlefield product in some time. Like, people liked Battlefield 1, more power to them. I think the idea of shooting a World War I weapons sounds like a rough time because old weapons are not fun to shoot. I'm not saying that guns should be fun to shoot. They're guns, and guns don't kill people. People kill people, or whatever the bullshit saying is. That being said, if you were like GnittWitt, do you want to shoot a World War II gun or a World War I gun? I'm going to take the World War II gun every single time. But then you say, GnittWitt, would you like to shoot a gun from, modern times or maybe postmodern times or something like that? And I would say I would take the modern weapon over the World War II gun every single time. That being said, regardless of what guns you're shooting and what area you're shooting it in, Battlefield has not been hot for a while now. So if I'm being honest, I think EA should be focusing on building a good product and then building the platform around that product versus building the platform first. But what do I know? I'm a man who could play some Battlefield, but hasn't in a while. And I don't know if their talks about Battlefield have necessarily gotten me excited for the game so far. In a Q&A during its earnings call following the publications of its Q1 results for fiscal year 2016, that can't be right. That's got to be a typo. That's got to be fiscal year 2026. I'm in it. The 1 and the 2 are so close to each other on the keyboard. I'm going to assume this is a typo. Wilson was asked about EA's marketing strategy for Battlefield 6 and how it differs from that of previous editions. Wilson replied that this time the company isn't treating Battlefield 6 as a single product, but rather as the start of a Battlefield platform, with more details to come later this year. Quote, certainly you're going to see a lot more in a couple of days. We've been investing more behind this Battlefield than any Battlefield product before it. And really, the big reason for this is that it isn't just a product. We're really building Battlefield as a platform. You'll hear a lot more about this in just 2 days' time, and all will become more clear about the nature of our investment over the last 4 years, with 4 studios building against this launch to date. There's also going to be a Battlefield 6 multiplayer reveal that's also going to be happening tomorrow, July 31st. And Wilson said this will be the real start of its marketing push. As with how we've thought about marketing the product, we're going to get right behind it. We're all in as a company on it. You may have seen the release trailer just a few weeks ago. That was very well received. Of course, it's just a release trailer. Most of our games are sitting there waiting for the big reveal that comes in a couple of days. We have hundreds of creators and influencers flying into LA and to destinations around the world. We'll spend all day with the products tomorrow, and they'll begin streaming that product out to their fan bases on Thursday. For the record, I did not get invited. I am the biggest influencer in the world. I'm like the best. I'm the Ric Flair of influencers. I don't know why I just immediately went to Ric Flair. I am not flying out to LA to play Battlefield 6, just for those wondering. Finishing up the statement, they go on to say, and we're really excited about that because in addition to the various pieces of overall experiences that players have been seeing as part of Battlefield Labs, which was a very new way for us to really gain alignment with the community around the development of this product, this platform, this will be the first time people really see the true scale of what we've been building and get a sneak peek at what's to come. We don't have a release date for Battlefield 6. At least I don't think we have a release date for Battlefield 6. Maybe the Battlefield 6 release date comes out tomorrow. There is no date for Battlefield 6. We'll find out when we find out eventually. Let's move on. Let's move on to something else. Oh, the other thing was with EA. EA has also confirmed that they are not going to be changing the price of their games. Battlefield 6 will probably also be a $70 US game. Speaking of so the thing about the platforms, the thing about like making a singular game or at least, you know, putting games in something of a platform is that it kind of, in my opinion, alienates the people that want to play a single game as part of a series. So I'll give you an example. When you load up Assassin's Creed Shadows right now, it loads up a menu before you start the game that has a list of like all these other fucking Assassin's Creed games. And you can go through the timeline in this menu and it'll be like, hey, this year is the year of the samurai, whatever. Do you want to play Assassin's Creed Shadows? But you can scroll through it and be like, and this is the year of the Greeks. Do you want to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey? And this is the year of the Egyptians. Do you want to play this or Valhalla that? And it's just like, I clicked the button on my computer that said Assassin's Creed Shadows. Let me play Assassin's Creed Shadows. But instead, I have to go through one more additional menu layer to get to the game, which then launches me into the menu for Assassin's Creed Shadows. It doesn't even put me in right dab in the middle of the game. It's just like, oh, well, then we'll load you into the menu for, and it's just like, why? Don't you think that if I wanted to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I would have hit the button that said Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or if I had a console, put the disc in or whatever like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It was also even worse with Call of Duty, because in the case of Call of Duty, you were downloading so much additional files to support this thing called Call of Duty HQ, which meant, oh, you have to make sure that you have files pertaining to Call of Duty Warzone or Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 or Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Even if the game you wanted to play was actually Call of Duty Black Ops 6, you still needed a bunch of other bullshit taking up space on your computer or console, whatever, just to play one singular game. They have tried to go back and forth on like, oh, you can uninstall this and you can uninstall that, but usually as part of the initial installation and download process, you need to have a bunch of other shit downloaded, ready to go. It was obnoxious. It was annoying. And actually Call of Duty is moving away from that. Like they're actually taking out Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 from Call of Duty HQ and making them standalone games again. So if you download Modern Warfare 2 or Modern Warfare 3 right now, there's no Call of Duty HQ thing to go with it. So, I understand that, in Activision's, brain, they were like, oh, well, you might want to play Call of Duty Warzone instead of Black Ops 6, or you'd like to easily go from Black Ops 6 to Warzone or Modern Warfare 2 to Warzone or whatever, right? Of course, Warzone is their free-to-play battle royale, so the idea being that, anyone could play Warzone even if they didn't own Modern Warfare 2, 3, or Black Ops 6. I thought it sucked. I thought it was a bloated fucking mess. I thought it was visually unappealing. I thought it was clunky. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was preposterous, right? And then I see it come over into Assassin's Creed, and I'm like, did no one learn the lessons of Activision and their horrible way of presenting Call of Duty, right? And if EA does something similar with Battlefield 6, I don't know if I'll even bother playing it, because I'm gonna have to sift through what feels like far too many menus just to get to the part of Battlefield that I want to play, even if I wanted to play Battlefield. But the news story as it goes is that in preparations for Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Activision has stripped away Modern Warfare 2 and 3 from the Call of Duty HQ, app, menu system, whatever, and are making them standalone games again. In a brief message posted to social media, publisher Activision confirmed players with either Modern Warfare 2 or 3 will be able to access them directly and without going into the HQ app first, once they have re-downloaded fresh installs of either game. Any legacy content relating to either game within the main Call of Duty install will be magically removed come August 7th to free up storage space, although a later tweet clarified that Call of Duty Warzone content, such as Modern Warfare 2 or 3 operators and guns, will not be impacted by this change. Now, as IGN breaks it down, Vicky Blake doing the Lord's work talking about fucking Call of Duty HQ. Vicky Blake breaks it down as such when it comes to Call of Duty HQ, and actually does a better job explaining it to people than I can. So I'll just read what she says verbatim. Call of Duty HQ is the platform from which Call of Duty games are launched, previously making it impossible to jump straight into Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2, or the Battle Royale Warzone via their own dedicated apps. Instead, players must log into the Call of Duty HQ, find their game of choice via a Netflix-style launcher, then load the app. Now, at the time, Call of Duty HQ was required to play either Modern Warfare 3, 2, or Warzone, and unlike parts of those games, Call of Duty HQ itself cannot be deleted if you want to play. At the time, Activision said Call of Duty HQ was developed to bring players benefits like carry forward, easier file size management, and more seamless switching between Call of Duty Warzone and the latest annual releases. But that wasn't really the reality that many players reported, as getting to a selected game or mode could be really time consuming, particularly with endless prompts to update to restart, and also taking up tremendous amount of space on consoles. Activision didn't give a reason for the change, but it doesn't seem like HQ haters are going to be relinquished of the launcher anytime soon. But it is fair to suggest that this is just a way of tidying up HQ ahead of Black Ops 7's release later this year. Well, there you go. I would love it if I would love it if they got rid of it entirely. I'm not someone who listen, I don't play Warzone. And if I did play Warzone, I would just download Warzone. I would just be like, okay, whatever Warzone is now, let me download it. That's fine. But I am not a hardcore Call of Duty person. So whenever I want to sit down and play Call of Duty, it's usually the latest Call of Duty. Like, I haven't played Black Ops 6 in a very, very long time. And I probably will not play another Call of Duty. Well, they did put out Modern Warfare 2, and I haven't played the campaign for that. So I might play the campaign for Modern Warfare 2 in a little bit. But the next time I seriously sit down to play Call of Duty, It'll probably be when Black Ops 7 comes out. And when Black Ops 7 comes out, I'm not going to give a fuck about trying to play Warzone or Black Ops 6 or Modern Warfare 3 or any of that stuff. So please, Activision, just get rid of this. It is such a terrible way of doing things, and I would hope to God that they have learned their lesson. Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit of horror games. Saber Interactive is working on a Hellraiser game for PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC. Clive Barker is also advising on the story for the single-player survival horror game called, I guess the technical name is Clive Barker's Hellraiser Revival, but I think we just call it Hellraiser Revival. It is a single-player survival horror action game set in the universe of the iconic horror franchise. It is not a multiplayer game. Despite being made by Boss Team Games, the studio that developed the Evil Dead game, this is not a multiplayer game. This is a single-player, story-based game. The description is, discover the tale of Aiden, who must unlock the powers of the Genesis configuration, a mysterious puzzle box to help save his girlfriend from a hellish abyss. The synopsis for the game reads, as Aiden, you'll harness the box's infernal abilities to survive your pact with the sinister Pinhead and battle against the twisted cult that worships him and the Cenobites. Clive Barker, creator of Hellraiser, has been acting as a guiding hand for the game's story, according to the announcement. Working on the first true Hellraiser game has been a venture deep into the recesses of my darkest imaginings, he said. The dedication that Saber and Boss Team Games have shown is nothing short of remarkable. They've immersed themselves in the Hellraiser universe, capturing its essence, the seductive pull of suffering, the beauty within the grotesque and forged, the beauty within the grotesque and forged a narrative that invites players to step beyond the threshold. I'm eager for both the curious and the damned to experience this new chapter in the Hellraiser mythos, where every moment balances on the brink of nightmare and revelation. Wait, hold on. I have a question. GnittWitt question here. Does Clive Barker really talk like that? Like, does Clive Barker really just be out here talking about the seductive pull of suffering and the beauty within the grotesque? Like, if he does, good on him. That's amazing. But I don't know if he's like in some character mode. I don't know if he's like, like some people will like put it on, he'll put it on a little bit. I don't know if he's doing that or not. I've never seen a Hellraiser movie. I still haven't seen a Hellraiser movie. I really should. I probably should before the game comes out. But if he's really just out here being like, yes, the beauty within the grotesque, that is amazing. Good for him. And I'm just happy that this game isn't another fucking multiplayer game. Speaking of not another fucking multiplayer game, a new Friday the 13th sequel game is in the works. However, it is not clear whether it is a direct follow-up to 2017's Friday the 13th game. This all was kind of brought to life during a San Diego Comic-Con panel based on all things Friday the 13th. It was announced that a sequel game is being made. The reveal was made by Robert Bersmian, the executive vice president at Horror Incorporated, the company which currently handles the Friday the 13th franchise under a label called Jason Universe. During the panel, Barsamian, I think I'm just going to pronounce his name differently every time because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, acknowledged the elephant in the room, which is the fact that there hasn't been a new Friday the 13th movie since a reboot 16 years ago. And I'm just going to say for the record, I think the Friday the 13th reboot movie is good. I think them making Jason a leaner, meaner, more muscular, athletic type character was a lot of fun. And I think that was more than enough to make that movie better than it had any right to be. He goes on to say, I can tell you that a new sequel movie and a new sequel game are at the top of our list. It's where most of our energy is going right now. And I can tell you we're finally in a position to deliver on that. While we're not officially announcing with our partners today, both are coming. They're both in the works. He goes on to not confirm whether the phrase sequel game specifically meant that the upcoming game would be a direct follow-up to the 2017 asymmetrical online multiplayer title. That game was also pulled from sale December 31st of 2023 after the license expired. The same thing happened to critically acclaimed mobile game Friday the 13th Killer Puzzle, which was a puzzle game, which is also delisted in January 2023. Following the release of Friday the 13th, the game, its developer, Ilphonic, went on to work on other licensed asymmetrical multiplayer horror games. They are the same people who made Predator Hunting Grounds, Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, and Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the game. Now, the publisher, Gun Media, teamed up with Sumo Nottingham to release another asymmetrical online multiplayer game based on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I am just going to say this right now. Almost all of those games have died. All of those games have fallen flat because most people just want to play Dead by Daylight. And Dead by Daylight already has Ghostface and Freddy and Michael Myers and all of this other shit, and Nicolas fucking Cage and all this other shit in it that, how can you necessarily, it's like the Fortnite of horror game, multiplayer games, right? I just don't know how you could compete with, like, who here is being like, yes, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That's the game for me. I don't think it's happening. I just don't see it. And I really hope that they've learned their lesson and do not make another multiplayer game. I don't know if I mentioned this. I'll say it again really quickly because I totally forgot what I just mentioned earlier on the show. There is the new Pokemon game, Pokemon Legends ZA, is getting a Switch 2 bundle coinciding with the release of the game. So if you don't want the Mario Kart World bundle, but you do want a bundled game with your Switch 2, you will be able to get the ZA bundle closer to release of the game. Coming out same day, October 16th. If you watched the Summer Game Fest showcase from earlier this year, you may have remembered the Splitgate 2 segment that was the low light, the low point of the show. If you remember, the CEO of that company went out on stage wearing a Make First Person Shooters Great Again hat and talked about a lot of iconic first person shooter franchises basically going to shit, and how Splitgate was going to be a tremendous first person shooter that was going to really revive the first person shooter market's place, for lack of a better word, and it was going to be a real banger. It was going to be great, and these other games are shit, or they used to be good but now they're shit, and we're going to make first person shooters great again, and all of this stuff. Splitgate 2 going to be the best thing to happen to first person shooters since Halo 3. I don't know. You didn't say that, but that was the interpretation I had. Again, while we're wearing a parody Make America Great Again hat. Splitgate 2 at the time was just launching its full release around the time of that Summer Game Fest showcase. They also announced a big Battle Royale mode. And it seemed like Splitgate 2 was going to go out there and really make a big splash. Since then, Splitgate 2 has not been a successful video game. I'm not going to try to really go out. I'm not going to fully commit to this bit because I do think it's funny considering how arrogant the CEO was. But I'm not going to really go out of my way to kick this game while it's down. But I wanted to pull up some details around Splitgate 2. We're going to just look at the Steam numbers for a moment if you will just humor me. But Splitgate was a free-to-play shooter. It was a free-to-play. The original Splitgate was a free-to-play multiplayer shooter. It over the course of about, I don't know, 2 months, went from launching let me rephrase that. The original Splitgate 1 game launched in May of 2019 with about 11,000 players on Steam. It then went on to exist until June of 2021, and by August of 2021, it had rocketed up to 67,000 peak players. Then they decided that they were going to take that game and no longer develop it and instead focus on a sequel. They were going to take all the money that they made and investments and all this stuff and basically put it into Splitgate 2 and say, you know what? We weren't really prepared for Splitgate 1 to be as popular of a game as it was, especially years after the release of that game, like almost 2 years after the release, it blew up in popularity. So we're going to make Splitgate, 2, the game that you wanted Splitgate 1 to be. And here we go. Splitgate 1. Released in May of this year at a peak of about 10,000 player count, about 10,000 players on Steam. It then had its major, kind of event, major release, like full release, for lack of a better word, coinciding with the Summer Game Fest showcase, where it peaked at about 25,000 players. Today, there are about 716 people playing Splitgate 2, and over the last 24 hours, it has seen a peak player count of about 1,240, a far cry from the 25,000 people that were playing the game at its peak, and is also a far cry from the peak popularity of Splitgate 1. What is all this to say? Splitgate 2 is unlaunching back into beta testing mode, and the developer 1047 Games is laying off staff. The original Splitgate 1 will be playable for another month, but that game is also going to be going offline. So what's going to happen is Splitgate 2 is basically going to go back into like beta testing mode where there's not going to be a ton of updates. There's not going to be a lot of marketing. They're just going to quietly work on the game. And if you want to play it and give feedback, whatever you can. And then you're also not going to be able to play the original game, which is the game that people actually liked. You see how this is just like, how big of a, pile of horse shit can you step in, and especially with your god awful presentation. But let's get to the actual news story here. The shooter, which released in June, has faced low player numbers during its opening weeks and mixed fan feedback from players themselves. Now, developer 1047 Games has said it's taking the game off sale in order to work on it further, listen to fan complaints, and attempt to move forward. They said, "We believe in Splitgate 2, which is a message that was sent out by 1047 Games founder Ian Prolu and Nicholas Bagmian." Ian, I believe, is the gentleman who wore the Make First Person Shooter Great Again hat on stage. Their statement reads, "We launched too early. We had ambitious goals with Splitgate 2, and in our excitement to share it with you, we bit off more than we could chew. We rushed certain features, made some boneheaded mistakes, and most importantly, we didn't give you the polished portal-filled mayhem you fell in love with. This game is going back into beta, and the team is going heads down until 2026. It's claimed that major parts of the game will be rebuilt, and fan-requested features such as a less complex monetization model and a refocus on classic game modes." The reason is that there was very little monetization. Like, it was a free-to-play game. There wasn't that much stuff to spend money on in Splitgate 1. And then Splitgate 2 came out, and we talked about like crazy expensive cosmetics and just all this shit that you could spend money on. It was fucking crazy, and people were getting sick of it. And it seems like that was the big thing they focused on with the development of Splitgate 2. The statement then addressed the job losses that the studio will face as a result of the change. Quote, "Rebuilding the core experience isn't a quick fix. It's a long-term commitment. To give ourselves the time to build the Splitgate you deserve, we've made the incredibly difficult decision to reduce certain roles and shift our resources to focus on this rework. This is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. These are our teammates and our friends, and they helped build what we have today. They're receiving severance and job placement support, and we're committed to doing everything we can to help them through this transition. We hope to bring them back when we can. Lastly, the founders announced that the studio will take the original Splitgate servers offline next month due to them costing hundreds of thousands of dollars to operate. Quick question: the dickhead CEO that wore the stupid hat, is he taking a pay cut? Is he like, when does he get laid off? Like, when does he like actually take some fucking responsibility for putting out a piece of shit video game and then nuking it immediately upon launch with his bullshit marketing scheme? Like, when does Ian take responsibility for what he's done? That's my question. The people who worked on the game that ended up being bad because they rushed it, or, you know, the people involved had shit ideas for making this game. Like, when does leadership at 1047 Games take any responsibility whatsoever? Is that too much to ask? Is it? I don't know. The thing I will say is that there is a prominent example, a prominent story of a game launching, failing at launch, going back into beta testing mode and development mode, and then re-releasing only to fail again. And that game was the Warner Brothers Looney Tunes ass, you know, Smash Brothers style brawler game, platform fighter, I guess is the technical term. I'm talking about Multiverses. So if a game put out by mother effing Warner Brothers can fail not once but twice in its release and then re-release, I don't see any hope for Splitgate 2. The other thing I would say is that the Splitgate 2 problem is made even worse by how competitive the first person shooter market is. Let's say that Battlefield 6 goes on to be a real banger of a game. Let's say Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is a banger of a game. Let's say we have all of these new, let's say fucking Marathon comes out. I don't know. Like, what if these games come out and then make the first person shooter space even more competitive than it already is? There's almost nothing that Splitgate can do to kind of put that genie back in the bottle and make a game that connects with people, because the competition is only going to get more fierce. The platform fighter space isn't quite as fierce of a competition space for player attention as the first person shooter market is. But still, if Warner Brothers can't do it, I don't think Splitgate 2 is going to be able to do it, but I wish everyone at 1047 Games, except for the CEOs, the best of luck. Speaking of best of luck, Supermassive Games have delayed the Directive 8020 amid a round of layoffs. This decision was not taken lightly, and we know this will be an incredibly difficult time for everyone. They have delayed, so Dark Picture Studios, you know, the people who made The Man of Medan, The Quarry, Until Dawn, all those folks, that's Supermassive Games. They've actually announced that they're delaying the Directive 8020 into 2026. It was originally supposed to come out in October, now coming out in the first half of 2026. We remain focused on our upcoming projects and have made the decision to move the launch of Directive 8020 to the first half of 2026. The response to the game so far has been fantastic, and this additional time will help us deliver the very best experience for our fans. We're deeply grateful for the patience and support of our community. There is no impact on the development of Little Nightmares 3, which they are also working on. Oh my God, there's so much more news. We're going to take another quick break and we'll be right back with more news. Stick around. We ain't going anywhere. Welcome back to the podcast. We are going to continue with news. This is part of a larger story, so I'm going to try to cover this as best as possible, but there has been a recent kind of wave of delisting a lot of adult rated video games on platforms such as Steam and itch.io, which, if you've never heard of itch.io or itch.io, whatever you want to call it, itch.io is a place for a lot of indie developers to publish their games. sell directly to fans and a lot of stuff like that. And when I talk about adult games, I'm mostly talking about games that, predominantly talk about or depict things like nudity, sex, and stuff like that. Like when we talk about adult games, while I'm sure there are plenty of adult games that are about violence and things like that, we are talking about games that end up dealing with potentially taboo, topics, such as the video game Boobs. The video game Boobs is on Steam. I'm a child, I can't help it. The video game Boobs is on Steam, and it is a interactive experience, allowing you to relax and unwind with realistic boob physics. It is a video game in which there is a pair of boobs sitting in front of you, and you play as a hand, and you can do I'm like, for the video podcast, I'm like, this is not how I would. I'm gonna put my hand down. You basically use the hand to do things with the boobs if you want to. It is a free to play game. It is free to play if that is your thing. And I can't help myself. This is just an example. Boobs is free to play. And if you would like to unlock the nudity in the game, it is going to cost you $6.49. Then I believe it is just it's just naked boobs at that point. It's just, you look at boobs, you can use your fingers on, or your hands on the boobs. There's also a game I'm looking at right now. It is called Lovecraft, not based on the HP Lovecraft game or anything like that. It is also a free-to-play game, and it says free sex for all players. Now there are no restrictions or prohibitions. Dive into a world of pleasure without limits. And I'm just going to describe this game. It looks like it is just 3D animated people having sex. I don't know if this is a multiplayer game or not. Welcome to Lovecraft, home to interesting people, hot parties, exploration, and fulfilling relationships. Create your world from a unique persona to your exciting adventures. And it's just people having sex, man. It's just 3D animated people just boning. You can make a character, and I'm assuming you can adjust the size of the. Oh yeah. Oh, you can. Oh, you can adjust the size of that thing too. Anyways, I'm going to close this because I've just about had enough of looking at 3D stuff. But the point is that there has been a recent kind of wave of delisting a lot of these games on platforms. These sexually focused, nudity focused video games on platforms like Steam and platforms like itch.io. You don't see a lot of these games on platforms such as Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo. Though you might find, some nudity, sexually, focused games, but usually not as explicit as full-on polygonal fuck city that I was looking at just a moment ago. You cannot see it on the video feed of the show, so don't even worry about it. There's nothing to see. But if you want to type in boobs into Steam, you'll see what I'm talking about. Long story short, the International Game Developers Association, the IGDA, says it's seriously alarmed by the recent delisting of adult games from stores such as itch.io. This is all culminating in last week, the Indie Digital Games Store de-indexed its entire not safe for work games library from its store. Now, this is a move which comes as payment providers have started scrutinizing not safe for work content on platforms such as Steam. So what they're saying is MasterCard, American Express, Visa, payment processors are saying that we don't want our payment processors, connected to such, pornographic and sexual gaming content is what they're saying. In a statement, the IGDA said it's calling for greater transparency and fairness in how adult games are moderated and actioned across major platforms. Again, you're not going to see a ton of this stuff on PlayStation. If I went to the PlayStation store right now, I don't even know what I would find. Where's the PlayStation store? Where's the store? Just show me the store. And okay, so I'm going to go to the PlayStation store right now. And I'm going to type in the word hentai. Don't ask me how I know that. Okay, so when you go and you type in hentai into the PlayStation Store, it gives you about 16 different games, such as Hentai Girl Succubus, Hentai versus Evil PS4 and PS5, Anime versus Evil Apocalypse, OF Model Simulator, a game called None of Your Business, NUN, of your business, Hentai Girls Sniper Shooter, Anime Assault Hentai Girls 2025, the Succubus Sexy Devils, which is also on sale right now if that is your thing. I'm going to click on Succubus Sexy Devils. This game has a teen rating, so it can't be that bad. And it is on sale if that is your thing. Anyways, there are a variety of these sorts of games, but none of them really get into the bone zone the way that whatever the fuck I was just looking at a few minutes ago was. I'm going to close this before I get a virus on my computer. So what I'm saying is, like, the stuff you see on major platforms such as like PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo are very different than what you can see on stuff like itch.io and Steam, but they refer to Steam as a major platform. The IGDA is seriously alarmed by recent wave of game delistings, de-indexing, and payment disruptions targeting adult-themed titles on platforms such as Steam and itch.io. Reports suggest these actions have been taken with little to no communication and have disproportionately harmed developers producing legal, consensual, and ethically developed content, including creators from marginalized communities. The organization pointed out that while it's not uncommon for platforms to have terms of service restricting game content, such as non-consensual acts and incest, which violates payment processor guidelines, its concern is not the existence of these rules, but rather their enforcement is adversely impacting games that do not actually violate these restrictions, often without warning or explanation. Games that feature consensual adult content, including queer, kink-positive, or romantic narratives, are easily targeted under vague or overly cautious enforcement, often forcing developers into silence or self-censorship because platforms have perceived risks associated with hosting legal adult content. Further, reports suggest that recent policy changes are driven in large part by pressure from payment processors like Visa, MasterCard, and others who may threaten to withhold payment processing services from platforms hosting adult content. As a result, financial institutions are now influencing which stories can be told and sold in games with minimal transparency and public accountability. Now, the group makes it clear that it does not condone or support content that promotes or fetishizes sexual violence, non-consensual sexual acts, or the sexualization of minors. I think that goes without saying. And that it is instead focused on focused on developers creating consensual, lawful, and ethically developed games, adding that it supports clear, consistent content policies, not vague or overly broad censorship. itch.io stated last week that due to pressure from the group Collective Shout, which issued an open letter to payment processors demanding that they cease supporting online platforms that host explicit games, that they had removed all adult games from their search and browse features while determining next steps. I have Googled Collective Shout, and Collective Shout, according to them, is their statement says about our team. I guess, is what. All of these people seem like fucking prudes. Let me just state that for the record. All of the people in Collective Shout seem like people that would be not fucking fun at parties. They're also trying to ban, they're trying to ban Playboy or something. Anyways, whatever. These people all just need to get laid, if I'm being honest, but let's continue on. In its statement, HIO said it was a time-critical moment for the platform, apologizing that it couldn't warn not safe for work game developers of the changes because it was not realistic to provide advance warning. That's what they say. Now, I'm going to double check and see what the latest on this was, because this has been going on for a while now. According to Rock Paper Shotgun, HIO are now seeking out new payment processors who are more comfortable with adult material. So it looks like they banned this stuff, they got rid of it, and are trying to undo it by having a payment processor that actually supports it. I'm sure that at some point, the people over at Collective, whatever the fart nuggets they are, will come up with another reason to be mad. A Collective Shout, I'm sure they'll have another reason to be mad. But it looks like for right now, HIO has done this, and they're going to try to undo it by getting a new payment processor. Remember when I said we were going to talk about live service games? Well, it seems like the good folks over at Warner Brothers, a company that has had two massive failures, such as Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, as well as Multiverses, and to a lesser extent, but not really a live service game, Gotham Knights. Apparently, Warner Brothers is hiring for another live service game, this time being developed by Warner Brothers Montreal, the people that made a little game called Gotham Knights, which I think Gotham Knights is not a great game, but it's not the worst. You could do a lot. You could do a lot worse than Gotham Knights. Yep. You could do some worse than Gotham Knights, I guess is what I would say. Long story short, they are hiring for a new game that is alluded to be another online live service game. Real quick one. And we got two more news stories, and then we'll wrap up the news. Netflix has greenlit an Assassin's Creed series. It is going to be a live action series brought to you by the people who made Westworld and Halo, along with creatives over at Ubisoft. They described the Assassin's Creed show as a show about power, violence, sex, and greed. Just like every fucking show on TV. They could not have described Assassin's Creed as a more generic ass TV show if they tried. Because when I think about power, violence, sex, and greed, I think about every prestigious TV show on right now. Like, tell me there aren't already elements of that in fucking, Game of Thrones, or I don't know. I don't watch a lot of prestige TV these days. But it sounds incredibly generic is what I'm trying to say. We don't really have a lot of other details. It's a high octane thriller centered on the secret war between two shadowy factions. It will follow various characters across pivotal historical events. But we don't have a confirmed release date or anything like that, but it is being put out by your friends of mine at Netflix. And finally, not to be outdone, there is a Wolfenstein TV series reportedly in development at Amazon. Amazon MGM Studios is developing a live-action TV series based on Wolfenstein, according to a Variety report. The series is being helmed by Fallout producer Patrick Somerville. According to Variety, the show's tagline is, "The story of killing Nazis is evergreen," and that's something I can get behind. When's the last time you killed a Nazi? The point is, there are no additional plot details beyond that. Somerville will serve as creator, writer, executive producer, and showrunner. Other names attached to Wolfenstein are Fallout and Westworld showrunners Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, who will serve as executive producers for it as well. So if you like that Fallout TV show and thought that the people who made it knew what they were doing. Maybe they know what they were doing with this Wolfenstein TV show. Again, no confirmation on release date or anything like that. Only thing being reminded is that Fallout has been renewed for a second season. I thought that Fallout TV show was very good. Final break of the show. We're going to come back, talk about the Switch 2, talk about the games that I've been playing, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the podcast. Before we even talk about the Nintendo Switch 2, I want to talk about a little game called Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4. Since we last spoke, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 has come out. I have been playing that a little bit, and I remember being very excited for this game. I remember just being like, God damn it, I can't wait to play this game. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it is bad, but I think I like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 a little bit more than Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4. And I think that has to come down to some of the levels in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 just simply not being my favorite. And I do think there are a little bit of an awkward, transition from the open, exploration aspect of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, where you would find characters in the environment to start your mission, start your goal. You'd walk up to the homeless person and be like, hey, can you collect all the letters of skate? And then you'd go and you'd do that. And that would be just the single thing. 2 now, 4 plays a lot like 3, where there is a 2-minute runtime in the world, and you just you complete your series of objectives and challenges within that time limit. Of course, if you don't do all of them in the time limit, the ones you've done stay, and the ones you haven't, you can redo and stuff like that. But there's something about like maybe 4 just doesn't quite hold up in general the way I thought, because when I went back and I played 4 earlier this year, I was like, yeah, these challenges are just not that great. Like, I just don't want to do a bunch of these silly challenges in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 that really have moved quite away from anything related to skateboarding, to now a scenario of like, when you have these larger levels but classic goals, it doesn't always feel that exciting to play them kind of in general. I still think 3 is great. And I will say the new levels that they created for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 have been fantastic as well. There've been some really, really great levels that they added. There's a new pinball table where you're skating in a pinball table. And if you look at the reflection of the glass, it's like Tony Hawk playing the pinball table. There's also like an abandoned water park level that's really, really good, as well as a movie studio. And those are like fantastic levels. So it's this like thing of like, man, the levels that like existed within Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 maybe just don't translate that well into this kind of redone 3 style campaign structure. But the levels that they made that are new are really terrific. Maybe some of my favorite Tony Hawk's levels to date. I've put about 5 hours into it so far. I would like to go back and play more of it. But my initial reaction is like, yes, this is what I wanted, but it turns out that maybe 4 just doesn't hold up its end of the bargain perfectly the way the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, 2 or 1 do in this kind of remade format. It is still a tremendous game. Like I've really enjoyed my time with it, but there is this part of me that was just like, 4 maybe just doesn't quite hold up the way I expected it to once it was remade in the image of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. But that's still a great game. I'm hoping to get back to it soon when I get the chance, but I haven't done so yet because I've also been playing the Nintendo Switch 2, where when I loaded it up and set it up, I realized that I still had a fair bit of unfinished Nintendo Switch 1 games that I had never got around to beating. So I just thought to myself, man, if I'm going to do this, like I should really like, at least clear out some of this backlog so I don't feel so guilty about, playing a Donkey Kong Country Bonanza or a Mario Kart World or whatever the case may be. So what I did is I went through and I've already played through three Nintendo Switch 2 games. Three Nintendo Switch games since last we spoke to prepare myself for the new Switch games. I played through all of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. It's the only Marvel Ultimate Alliance game I've ever actually played. At the time of release when I played it, I did not think it was a great game. And while I don't think it's like amazing, I ended up managing to get through it and beat it, which is more than I could say the first time I played it. And while I think Marvel Ultimate Alliance kind of is overcooked in a couple of different ways, in terms of its presentation, its style, its menus, its systems, like it's a little overcooked. I think it's a decent time, whether you're playing by yourself or with other people, just to kind of blast through it as a kind of superhero action RPG. You can do worse. And there's still not a lot of those types of games on the Switch 1 or the Switch 2, though you could play Diablo 3, Diablo 2, or some of the Torchlight games if you wanted to as well. I also loaded up some older retro games, did a little bit of retro gaming. I'm not a big retro game guy, I gotta be honest, but that didn't stop me from playing Super Mario Bros. The first one. So if you are familiar with the Super Nintendo, they put out a game called Super Mario Bros. All-Stars, which is a collection of Super Mario Bros. 1, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, which was previously a Japanese only game. It released only in Japan. And what that game was supposed to be was, we'll just get into this now. What we call Super Mario Bros. The Lost Level is technically Super Mario Bros. 2 in Japan. The idea was that they thought the levels were too hard for Western audiences, so they remade an existing Nintendo game called, I think it's Doki Doki Panic. Doki Doki Panic. No, is it? I think it's Doki Doki Panic. Yeah, Doki Doki Panic, which was a Japan exclusive game, redid it with Mario style and then put that out in North America as Super Mario Bros. 2. So you get the Japanese Super Mario Bros. 2, the North American Super Mario Bros. 2, and you get Super Mario Bros. 3, all redone in the Super Nintendo art style and graphics, like the kind of remastered versions of those games. One of the earliest examples, like if you complain about them like remastering games, like dog, they've been remastering games since the Super Nintendo. Anyways, it is Super Mario Brothers, The Lost Levels, Super Mario Brothers 2, and Super Mario Brothers 3 in remastered for the Super Nintendo. Those are original NES games. So I played through the original Super Mario Brothers. I had never done so before. I might have cheated a little bit to play through it, but I did beat it. And that was just like, want to clear that. Never played through it before. It's weird to maybe have played it as the Super Nintendo version, but I still think the game, holds up. Like hey, surprise, surprise. One of the greatest video games ever made. Super Mario Brothers still holds up today. If that is your thing. Anyways, long story short, I think that Super Mario Bros is a good game. That is 2 Nintendo Switch games off of my backlog for lack of a better word. I also went through and I played Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The reason for that was because first of all, none of my saves, I lost all of my saves when I sold my original Switch 1, which is fine. I knew what I was getting into when I sold my Switch 1. I was just like, I don't care about my saves. It's fine. It's all good. But it also meant that I did lose my Mario Kart 8 Deluxe save. But I had never played the DLC. When I bought my Nintendo Switch 2, I got the online like expansion subscription thing, which included all of the DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I also got Mario Kart World when I got my Switch 2, but I figured I'm probably not going to go back and play a lot of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe after I start playing Mario Kart World. So I played through all of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, got all the, did a cup on 150cc and every, got the gold trophy, whatever, first place in all of the cups. And I completed that. And that was another game I finished put that away so that I can focus on Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. I am still very, very early into those games. So what I will say is, if you were looking for a more complete kind of breakdown of the Nintendo Switch 2 that I've been playing and Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza, you're probably gonna have to wait till next week. Overall, I think Donkey Kong Bonanza is a phenomenal game. It has really blown me away even in the first couple of hours that I've played it. And I think Mario Kart World is okay, but like I said, I'm not too deep into either game at the moment. But Mario Kart World, I think is all right. Donkey Kong Bonanza, I think is fantastic. And the Switch 2, at least as of right now, is a better Switch 1, and that has been good enough for me so far. Gonna try to get back to playing. I gotta finish Spider-Man 2. I haven't even finished Spider-Man 2, which is crazy. Grounded 2 came out on Game Pass. I should maybe get around to checking out Grounded 2 at some point. But right now, like, probably not moving as soon as I would like. So as a result, we will keep going with the podcast. I fully expect to be back next week to talk more of, I'll do the same thing that we have been doing. It's just a weird thing where, you know, I just thought I was going to be had moved by now, but that has not been the case. But what are you going to do? That is going to do it for the podcast. I have been GnittWitt. You can find everything that I do over at my Linktree. That is linktree.com/GnittWitt. GnittWitt. I am on Twitch. I am on Threads, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of those good things in one convenient location. That is going to do it for the podcast. We will see you all next week. Goodbye for now, and take it easy.